What if I told you the ocean remembers? That beneath the calm blue surface lies a graveyard of steel and dreams, and among them, one ship still whispers through the waves. This is the story of the Titanic. Not just how it sank, but how its memory refuses to drown. Welcome to Secrets Buried in Time, the lost voices of the Titanic. April 10th, 1912. The air in Southampton carried a strange mixture of excitement and pride. The world's largest and most luxurious ship, RMS Titanic, stood ready to cross the Atlantic. It was more than just a ship, it was a symbol of human achievement, a floating city of wealth, ambition, and hope. On board were more than 2,000 souls, some chasing dreams, others escaping the past. The Titanic was called unsinkable. Newspapers praised it as the triumph of modern engineering. People whispered that not even God could sink it. But the sea, calm and endless, never cared for human arrogance. It waits, it watches. As the ship began its maiden voyage, the passengers marveled at its beauty. In first class, music filled the grand staircase. In third class, laughter and song echoed through the narrow halls. The engines roared beneath, churning against the Atlantic's cold embrace. But deep inside that vast steel hull, no one could imagine how short this journey would be. For 4 nights, everything seemed perfect. Stars glittered over the black water. Couples danced, families dined, and the band played as if time itself had stopped. But on the 5th night, April 14th, the ocean began to change. The temperature dropped suddenly, the waves grew still, and the horizon turned ghostly white. At 11:40 p.m., a lookout in the crow's nest shouted the words that would echo through history. "Iceberg, right ahead!" The crew tried to turn, but it was too late. The iceberg scraped along the ship's side, tearing open the steel like paper. Within minutes, the unsinkable Titanic began to bleed water into her lower decks. Panic spread slowly, disbelief, confusion, and then horror. The night was so calm that the cries of the first drowning could be heard miles away. Officers shouted orders, lifeboats were lowered, and women and children were ushered aboard. But there were not enough boats. Many stood frozen, believing the ship could never truly sink. On the deck, the band continued to play, soft, trembling notes that floated across the water like a farewell. Their final song, "Nearer My God to Thee," became the hymn of those who refused to leave. Some held hands, some prayed, others stared silently at the stars, the same stars that watched from above, cold and uncaring. As the bow dipped lower, Captain Edward Smith remained at his post. He had spent his life on the sea, and now he would die with it. He whispered to his crew, "Be British," and disappeared into the bridge. At 2:20 a.m., the lights flickered once, twice, and then the mighty Titanic split apart. The sound was like thunder under the water. Moments later, the ocean closed over her, swallowing the screams, the music, and the last flickers of human hope. For those in the lifeboats, the silence afterward was worse than the sinking. They watched as their ship, their world vanished into blackness. Some called out names that would never be answered. Some clutched the hands of strangers. And when the Carpathia finally arrived, only 700 survived. Over 1,500 souls were lost. But the story didn't end there. For decades, the wreck of the Titanic lay undisturbed 2 miles below the surface, a silent witness to human pride and suffering. No one knew where it was. The ocean had claimed it completely. Until one night, in 1985 when sonar signals began to bounce off something vast and metallic. Dr. Robert Ballard and his team followed the signal. Their submarine lights pierced the darkness, and suddenly there it was. The bow of the Titanic emerged from the shadows, still majestic, still broken. Time had stopped down there. Dishes were still on tables. Shoes lay in rows. The captain's bathtub untouched. But as the cameras moved through the wreck, the crew reported something strange. Static in their headsets. Soft sounds, like distant music. One diver swore he heard voices, whispers in the dark. "Is anyone out there?" he said, though no one had spoken. Scientists called it pressure noise, the natural hum of the deep. But the divers knew better. They felt the weight of every soul that had perished there. The sea was alive, listening, remembering. When the footage was released, millions watched in silence. Some cried. Some said they felt a chill, as if the ocean itself was speaking through the screen. Years later, expeditions returned to the wreck. They found objects, letters, jewelry, photographs, all perfectly preserved. Each item told a story. A child's shoe, a gold watch stopped at 2:19 a.m., a locket with a faded portrait of a woman smiling at the man who would never return. Each piece was a heartbeat from 1912, frozen in time. Today, the Titanic still rests 2 miles beneath the Atlantic, slowly dissolving into rust and memory. Scientists say that within a few decades it will vanish completely, eaten away by the ocean's unseen creatures. But perhaps that's fitting, because the Titanic was never meant to last forever. It was a monument to ambition, a mirror of humanity itself, strong, proud, and fragile all at once. And yet, even now, sailors say that on calm nights, when the moon is full and the water perfectly still, they hear faint echoes across the waves, the sound of violins, a woman's cry, a whisper carried by the wind. Maybe the Titanic didn't just sink. Maybe it became part of the ocean, its stories woven into every wave, every current, every drop of salt that touches the shore. Because some tragedies don't end. They linger, like a breath caught between life and eternity. The sea keeps its secrets, but we'll keep uncovering them one story at a time. If this journey into history touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because the past still has voices waiting to be heard. Wavy, stay curious, stay brave, and remember, some mysteries are too deep to drown. This is Secrets Buried in Time, where history never truly sleeps.